Hello, we are back and we are ready. We are diving into the first episode of the Spiraling Upward series. And I wanted to share with you guys a concept that I've been developing as I'm building the Real Self-Love Masterclass. This is a masterclass that I'm running inside the private Mighty Networks community for the I Am Her collective. This is a free masterclass, by the way. So if you are interested or you really like this topic today, I want you to head down to the description and pause this episode, sign up real quick, and then come back and hit play, because this masterclass I've been working on, and it's literally going to change your life. It's going to change your entire definition of what self-love is. Hence why it's called Real Self-Love, because we often confuse real self-love with the external things like spa days, massages, and while all these things are great and I'm 100% for them, this is not the basis of real self-love, and the confusion around this is the reason why so many of us are doing all these self-care, self-love things and yet still feel like we don't have a healthy relationship with ourselves and we're still stuck in old patterns. And so with that theme, I am right here next to my whiteboard. I highly recommend, if you're listening to this on audio, that you watch the video view for the sections that I'm talking about this concept. But right here on my whiteboard, as you can see, I've got a little bit of a tree diagram going on. And in today's Spiraling Upward episode, especially because it's episode 1, I wanted to explain this concept of self-love, because truly I believe that this is the foundation of what allows us to access all the positive emotions that we want in life. Now, let me explain this diagram real quick and then we'll get into it. So as you can see, this is like a self-love tree. And at the bottom, like with any tree, there are roots. And in the middle, there's a trunk. And then at the top is the leaves, what comes from the tree. And what I've written down at the bottom level is the roots. So these are the things that underpin real self-love: a regulated nervous system, self-trust, and self-worth. Okay? And actually, I did not add this on here, which I will, is identity or self-concept. Might be a better word. I'm just writing this literally as I record. And with that being said, let's go into the embodiment. So what underpins self-love? What are the roots of real self-love? We need to have a regulated nervous system. We need to have real self-trust, trust within ourselves. We need to have a solid sense of self-worth and a solid sense of our identity or self-concept. Now, the second level, which is the embodiment, this is where our actions and our beliefs and the basic embodiment of these roots start to take place. And I like to think of it as the physical manifestation, because roots you do not see, they're underground, whereas above the ground you actually see that. And so these are things like your higher standards, so having a higher standard for yourself, emotional mastery, being able to rein in your emotions and actually take control of your mind and emotions, productive thoughts, so mental mastery, mindset mastery, and your habits and belief systems. These are the things that you behave. Actually, I'm going to add on there habits, belief systems, and actions, okay? I like to flow and conceptualize as I go, as you can literally see in this video, but that is the embodiment. Now, what is produced from this embodiment, when you embody these roots and you are consistent with the embodiment of these expressions that I just said, now comes the fruit, and that's what I call the expressions. These are the branches or the leaves that are at the top of the tree. And this is what makes way for bliss, access to higher consciousness, creativity, expansion, and confidence. So there you have it, right? So in the workshop or the masterclass, if you are joining, which again, I highly recommend that you do, you're going to learn a little bit about how each of these components actually create and produce real self-love to then produce states of higher consciousness, bliss, joy, expansion, confidence. These are all the things that we're seeking and striving for, and we're trying to achieve them through having more money or doing a self-care day or I don't know, buying ourselves flowers. And again, I love all these things, but at the same time, they are not real self-care or real self-love. And I want to make sure that we understand the difference and actually give you tools and frameworks that are going to help you actually change your relationship with yourself to the point where you will completely become a whole new version of yourself and a higher version of yourself. So for today's episode, the reason why I have decided that I'm going to share this diagram, let me shift over to the center now, is simply because this is the foundation of spiraling upward. This entire season, we're talking about how to spiral upward, how to expand your capacity to feel positive emotion and to not self-sabotage when you are experiencing good things. And what I believe the root of all of it is when you can really accept yourself unconditionally and accept and embrace the experiences you are having, that is what's going to allow you to actually offer zero resistance to the present moment and therefore expand into the space of now, expand into the moment, and therefore take ownership. When you take ownership of the experience you are having and you're offering no resistance, you're not pushing it away or wishing it were different, you're not focused on the past or the future, you're just fully present and fully attentive and embracing of the now, what happens is you access a power. And this power is like the life force that is constantly creating all around us. Bear with me here. I know it might sound a little spiritual, but really think about it. When you are fully present, you access a certain level of power. It's like this laser focused vision, and you access within your body, within your sensations, this sense of like oomph energy, is the best way I can describe it. It's this oomph energy where you don't feel that it's this hustly, striving, grinding to achieve or to be anything other than you're not. You're just fully alive and fully in the moment. And that is powerful. The closest example that most people will resonate to is something like falling in love or being with people that you love. You get lost in time. Or when you're doing something that you love, like a sport, you get lost in time. You get sucked into the present moment. And it feels like everything slows down. In the neuroscience? Like, what was the word? It's a big word, but a lot of our neuroscience today and the research is coming out is saying that this is essentially what they call flow state. And the flow state is fully becoming at one with the present moment. And I think that this is the state of love. This is the state of bliss and unconditional presence. And that is the most powerful state because there's something really, really profound that I don't think we all get to experience nearly enough that happens when we actually let ourselves yield to what is happening. See, in our culture, we think yielding and surrendering and allowing and accepting is very passive, and passive equals bad. It means that we're not taking charge or control, or we're just letting things be. And we stigmatize the power there is in yielding. Now, why is yielding and surrendering to the present so powerful, and how is it going to help us spiral upward? Well, think about it. When you yield, you're saying, I trust that it is all working out for me. I don't need to control everything. You release the pressure that you're placing on yourself mentally and emotionally to have to be any other way other than what is happening right now. And you also allow yourself to be fully human, which is the other side of this conversation. Allowing yourself to be fully human is something that sounds so simple, but we don't do. We don't know how to do it. We struggle to do this because allowing yourself to be fully human means letting yourself experience a negative emotion and to not judge it. And in this kind of highly spiritualized, perfection chasing society, we make the act of spiraling upward or learning to come back to real unconditional self-love, we make that also a task that has a billion checklist items that need to be ticked off. We think that we can earn our way there, but think about it. You were literally born fully worthy. You were crying, fully dependent, needed somebody to feed you, you just peed and pooped all day. and you were still worthy of love. But somewhere along the way, that wasn't enough, and you needed to start to perform, start to obey rules in order to receive love, in order to receive praise and belonging. And so over time, we're conditioned and we start to associate that if we do these actions, then and only then are we worthy, only then are we lovable. And I think coming back to a place where we can just embrace ourselves and feel connected to the fact that just by being here, I don't need to do more. I don't need to strive. I don't need to push. I am worthy. That is the foundation. That is the root of spiraling upward. Okay. So I want to tell you guys a quick story time. I recently started a brand new role. Now I am 28 years old. I've never had a full-time job, and I know it's crazy, but I have been building my business since I quit university years ago. I never finished any of the degrees that I started. I started two, didn't finish them. And I just went on to build my business. And for the last 5 years, I've been loving what I do. I decided that it was time for a little bit of a transition. I wanted to basically learn some new skills as well and step into the workforce for the first time. And what's absolutely crazy is that I am still experiencing the first day at school syndrome at work in the corporate world. And I'm so blessed that I have been able to do the inner work, and I have understood what it means to be a master of my mind, my emotions, to regulate my nervous system. And I get to bring these tools with me, and it absolutely changes my experience. But I can see how toxic it can really be. I'm blessed that my workplace is not like that, but I can see it and feel it all around me as I go into the city, as I commute, and I'm just exposed around that kind of culture. Because we do have shared office spaces as well. So I get to see how other people work in other companies. And it's just so incredible how I am now experiencing what a lot of my clients and who I get to support in my women's circles and events, their lifestyle and the lifestyles that they've been talking about, being women in corporate or the workforce, and how it's toxic and it just kind of sucks the life out of you. And going into it with fresh eyes, I remember really having to switch on and just having to remind myself that, hang on, just because this is the culture, just because this is how most people feel, doesn't mean that I have to also feel that way. I know better, so I do better, okay? And so one of the tools that I have been using, one of the roots that I have been coming back to spiral upward and to not get lost or to get sucked into this culture of it's exhausting and it sucks the life out of you, you don't get to do what you want, and you're always tired and people walk all over you. Although these are the narratives, what I use to stay grounded within myself is these roots. And again, I have done the work and am doing the work every single day to make sure that I have these roots and I'm grounded in these roots. But regulated nervous system, just one of the few that I've written down here that we're going to work on in the masterclass. But just a regulated nervous system, you guys, this will absolutely change your life. Because you will go into a situation where you will naturally feel intimidated or you will feel overwhelmed, and your body is going to have a natural human reaction. And you need to allow yourself to have that human reaction. Remember, humanize. You have to let yourself be human. If you don't, you expect perfection. You expect yourself not to be nervous. Then what happens is you start to make yourself wrong for having that experience, which is, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to invalidate our own experience. Most of our problems, our stress, our anxiety, most of the things that are happening in our lives that we do not want are a byproduct of us not letting ourselves feel our human emotions and experience our humanity. We are not perfect. We never will be. We are not robots. So stop expecting perfectionism. Don't believe social media that tells you that you need to have a perfect life and you need to always be calm. And no, that's not how it works. You're not always going to be happy. That's not how it works. You have emotions that are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum for a reason. They are all meant to be felt because they are all signals to your body. I said to a girl who attended Women's Circle last night that, she was saying that she just starts crying every time she meditates and she doesn't know why. And she's just going through this whole awakening journey and realizing that she's been exhausted and tired and feeling lost and disconnected. And she said, "Why do I keep crying?" And I was like, "Girlie, it's because your body needs to release. It's because all these years you have not let yourself cry. I told her, if you get dust in your nose, what's going to happen? you're gonna sneeze. If it's cold, what's gonna happen? You're gonna get goosebumps. These are reactions. These are responses that your body will have. You don't need to tell it to do that. It's a involuntary thing. It's involuntary shaking, involuntary crying, and that's normal. In society, we don't see it because we're like, don't cry, put on a straight face, be stoic, be a badass. Like, but no. Okay? So we're going to humanize, we're going to feel the emotion, and then back to the regulated nervous system. After we allow ourselves to acknowledge and see and feel that emotion and let it be felt without judgment, without trying to change it, then from there we can regulate. And regulating, I know it's a big word. It's a buzzword as well right now. I really want you to just think about regulating your nervous system as you're just soothing yourself. You're just allowing your body to do what it does. Just like your blood will start to clot if you cut yourself, and it will clot to form a scab that then stops the bleeding. Your body knows what to do. Okay, we think that we have to understand everything because we are in such a mind-driven world, in a logic-driven world. We think we need to have the formula to healing. We think we need to have the checklist because then we can get there faster. But your body has its own time and pace. Your spirit, your soul has its own time and pace. And it's not your job to try to understand or rationalize any of it. It will heal if it's meant to heal. And trust that it will. Okay, so humanize the experience you're having, and number 2, soothe yourself. Now, some tips that I have for soothing yourself is connecting again to the body, and specifically connecting to touching the sensation of your body. So you have all these amazing senses that you have in your body: your sight, your sound, your smell, your touch, your taste, and all of these can be used to assist you in your healing. I would encourage that you actually learn to see what the mind activity is doing, but not to get sucked into it. To instead focus on the commentary. Become aware of the commentary of the mind. Oh, I'm freaking out. Or that person thinks this of me. Or, oh my God, I'm going to fail. All this chatter that's happening while you're having this experience in your body. And then go, great commentary, but now we're going to move on to the other sensations. What am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? What am I touching? How does my body feel? Where does it feel that? What are the sensations? Where does it show up in my body? Is it sharp? Is it soft? Is it warm? Is it cold? There are so many different ways that you can actually attune to the sensory experience of your body that's going to have you get back to the ground. Come back to the fact that you are a human body. You don't just exist in your mind. You honestly don't. And yet so many of us, and I am a victim, I'm a culprit of this. So many of us are just living at the head level, the mind level, literally walking around like our body doesn't exist. We're not connected to our body. But what if you got your body involved? You will find that emotion regulates a lot faster when you get your body involved. And that's why movement is so powerful. That's why shaking out your anger or doing physical activity when you're stressed or when you're feeling something is trapped in your body, just having a physical release is a really, really effective way to do it. Because our nature is primitive. Our bodies are still primitive. Though we live in a very advanced world and we have very advanced minds, our bodies are still going to do what they're going to do. And if you actually read like body language books, I recommend like ones that written by, not that you would read one not written by an expert, but I've read books where they're written by experts who have studied body language for negotiations, for crime. And I find those so interesting because the mind and the words can lie, but the body never lies. And you will learn that the body, no matter what, will always just do what it's primitively, instinctively drawn to do. So if it doesn't like something, it will naturally turn its body's direction, or the vulnerable parts of the body, like the throat, the stomach. You'll start to hide or close away those parts of your body when you're in front of someone you don't trust or you don't know. And all of these things like gut feel or having a vibe about somebody that you don't like or is a bit suspicious for some reason, you don't know why, you don't feel like you can trust them. All these things are also micro cues. They are energetic cues as well, but they're micro cues that we don't consciously lodge in our mind like, oh, that's what that is. But we get the overall gist based on our primitive skill set, and we don't even know. We don't even know how powerful that is. Like, honestly. And so all of that to say, let yourself begin your spiraling upward journey by coming back to the basics. Come back to the fact that you have a nervous system that needs regulating. In fact, you might have such a dysregulated nervous system that every little thing sets you off. Okay, that meeting a new person that you don't know makes your heart pound so fast you feel like you're going to have an anxiety attack. Going to a class that you've never attended before, or meeting your partner's parents, literally receiving an email from your boss. All these little things that are just everyday things that mean absolutely nothing about us, we start to identify with, and we start to have stress responses and keep these stress loops open. And it causes us to spiral out of control. That's not what we're going to do. Remember, this season, this podcast season is all about spiraling upward, and we are doing this together. Okay, so don't be left behind. Let's start with this. Okay, let's start strong. Let's come back to our bodies, and let's make sure that we are allowing ourselves to process and regulate our nervous systems and the emotions that are happening within our bodies. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to leave you guys a simple question to answer in the poll below. If you are watching this on Spotify, that's where you can check it out. You can contribute to the conversation. Or if you're watching this on YouTube as well, head on over to the community channel where you can drop your answer to this, and I will use your answers to inspire the next episodes. But before I do that final question drop, and I will know if you stuck around because you will have answered this question, I do want to give a shout out, as promised, a community shout out to somebody who I have just been so proud of. Okay, and that is my special friend and the attendee, one of our attendees at our I Am Her Collective events here in Sydney, and her name is Barty. Barty, I'm so proud of you, because Barty not only joined I Am Her Collective, her first event was a paint and sip at Sunset months ago. I think it was in like October or something last year. And just recently, I saw on her Instagram story that she was doing some painting, and she's an amazing painter, you guys, so talented. And she posted a comment on it saying something like, just taking care of myself. And I got teary looking at that, because I remember that first time that she came, she cried. I'm sorry to expose you, girlie, but I'm so proud of you. She came and she was like, I don't know who I am. I'm trying to find who I am. I don't know what lights me up. I feel lonely. I feel disconnected. And she came just with the last thread of hope. And because it was a painting event, it was something that resonated with her. Ever since, she's attended our workshops online. She has also attended our retreat, our social walks, our dinners, and she's committed to the process. And seeing her on the other side, just a couple of months later, literally taking care of herself and doing what she loves and enjoying it, like knowing herself deeply. This is a testament of what's possible when you let yourself just undergo the journey and recognize that you don't have to do it alone. When you trust that being vulnerable is okay, and that being supported by other women is also safe. And so, Barty, I want to give you all the love, and I just want to thank you for also sharing your journey with us and trusting us to be part of the journey too. I can't wait to see where you go next from here. Okay, my loves, as always, you can drop us a voice message or nominate someone, or even nominate yourself to be featured on the podcast as somebody who has made a massive transformation for that shout out segment. And you can email in the description below. I'll drop the email that file through, because I would love to feature you. I would love to see your beautiful face on here and to hear your beautiful voice, sharing how far you've come and where you've come from in your journey of becoming the best version of you. And so final thing is to leave you guys with the question of the week. So my question for you is, on the theme of regulating the nervous system and spiraling upward, what I want you to leave for me below is your answer to this question. What causes you to become frazzled? What causes you to become frazzled? Like, what triggers you to, you could have the perfect day, but then this thing happens and you're like, I'm done. I'm sorry, I'm done. For me, it's like something like traffic. That can easily trigger me because it's out of my control, and I could have my whole morning planned, and that thing if it happens and everything gets set back, I do still get caught up in it. I do still kind of go, oh, that sucks, that's annoying, and then I have a hard time adapting because I get caught up in the emotion. Yeah, we're just being vulnerable out here. So, comment your answer below. Drop it in the community on YouTube or vote and answer on the poll of the Spotify episode. All right, my loves. Thanks for joining me for first episode of the Spiraling Upwards season, and I'll see you for the next one. Good luck this week. I love you, and that's life. Bye.